Her left hand was raised, but the reflection was holding up its right. Not mirrored. Right. She hadn't moved in 11 seconds. She'd been counting. The reflection lowered its hand slowly, deliberately, while hers stayed frozen in the air. And then it tilted its head, the way you'd look at something you were curious about. Something you were studying. 48 hours ago, this mirror was normal. 48 hours ago, she was normal. Let me tell you how a reflection learns to stop copying, and what it does once it no longer needs you. It started on a Tuesday. She was brushing her teeth, half awake, when she noticed something she couldn't quite name. A lag. Not a big one, half a second, maybe less. She moved her hand to her mouth. The reflection followed. But there was this tiny gap between her motion and its motion. Like watching a video stream with bad latency. She blinked. Leaned closer. It blinked back, perfectly normal. She told herself it was nothing. She was tired. She'd barely slept. Your brain plays tricks when you're exhausted, everyone knows that. She spit, rinsed, and left the bathroom without looking back. Here's the thing about reflections. They don't actually exist. A mirror is just glass with a thin coat of silver or aluminum behind it. Light bounces off you, hits the surface, and bounces back. Physics. There is no version of you inside that mirror. There never has been. So when something in the mirror starts acting on its own, that's not a malfunction. That's something else entirely. Something that was never supposed to be there. If this is already making the back of your neck feel wrong, drop a like. Because it's about to get so much worse. The next morning, she tested it. She stood in front of the bathroom mirror and raised her right hand, fast, no warning. The reflection raised its hand. Same hand. Same speed. Normal. She tried again. Wave, stop, wave, stop. Perfect copy, every time. She almost laughed at herself. But then she tried something different. She raised her hand and held it. Didn't move. 1 second. 3 seconds. 5. The reflection held 2. 7 seconds. 10. 12. And then the reflection's fingers twitched. She hadn't moved. She was holding her breath, her hand rigid, her muscles locked. But the reflection's fingers curled, slightly, like they were testing the range of motion. Exploring what they could do. She yanked her hand down and backed away from the mirror. The reflection stayed for a moment, just a moment, with its hand still raised. Then it copied her again. She did what any rational person would do. She grabbed her phone and started recording. And here's where it gets truly unsettling. On camera, the reflection was perfect. Frame by frame, pixel by pixel, it mirrored her exactly. No delay. No independent movement. Nothing wrong. She watched the playback 3 times. Normal. She looked up from her phone at the mirror, and the reflection was already looking at her. It hadn't been looking at a phone. It had been watching her the whole time. She searched for it. Every combination she could think of. Reflection not matching. Mirror delay. Reflection moving on its own. Nothing. She found optical illusion explanations. Sleep deprivation articles. A Reddit thread about someone who thought their reflection blinked late. The comments told them to see a doctor. Nobody described what she was seeing. Nobody described something in the mirror that watched you when you looked away. She was alone in this. But what happened next is the part you need to hear. Because up until now, the reflection was just off. Lagging, twitching, not matching. Unsettling, sure. But what she saw the third night changes what this story is about entirely. This isn't haunting. This isn't a glitch. The reflection was learning. And she was the textbook. She walked into the bathroom at 2 in the morning. She didn't turn on the light. Moonlight came through the small window, just enough to see the mirror. She stood in front of it and didn't move. The reflection stood too. Same posture. Same stillness. She waited. 1 minute. 2. She stared at her own face in the dark glass, and her face stared back. And then, slowly, so slowly she almost missed it. The corners of the reflection's mouth pulled upward. It was smiling. A small, careful smile. A smile that knew things. She was not smiling. Her jaw was clenched so hard her teeth ached. But the face in the mirror was smiling at her with her own mouth, and its eyes, her eyes, were wide and bright and fascinated. Like a child seeing something wonderful for the first time. She tried to leave. She turned away from the mirror and walked toward the bathroom door. Behind her, she heard something she will never forget. A sound like cracking ice. She turned around. The reflection hadn't moved. It was still standing where she'd been, facing the mirror from the other side. But now its hand was raised, and its fingertips were pressed against the glass. The surface of the mirror was bowing outward, toward her, just slightly. Like something leaning into a soap bubble. The reflection wasn't stuck anymore. It wasn't copying anymore. And she understood, with the kind of clarity that only comes from absolute terror, what the delays had been. Practice. The twitching fingers. The independent movements. The smile. It had been learning how to move. Learning her face, her body, her gestures. Because it didn't want to be a reflection anymore. It wanted to walk out. She screamed. She ran. She slammed the bathroom door and pressed her back against it. And then it went quiet. Dead quiet. No cracking. No movement. Nothing. After a long time, she doesn't know how long, she opened the door. The mirror was intact. Her reflection was there, matching her perfectly. She raised her hand. It raised its hand. She touched her face. It touched its face. Everything was normal. She laughed, a broken, shaking laugh, and leaned forward to splash water on her face. She looked up into the mirror. And the woman in the mirror looked back at her, and for just a moment, its eyes flit to the side. Toward the edge of the frame. Toward the bathroom door behind it. As if to say, I'm already out. You're the one in the mirror now. Next time you're in the bathroom, late at night, when the house is quiet, watch your reflection for 10 seconds. Count them. And if it blinks before you do, don't look away. Because it already knows you've seen it. If this kept you up tonight, subscribe. I have more. Hit the bell so you don't miss the next one. And send this to someone, but maybe not right before they go to bed.